Yeah.
So a broken marriage need not stay broken.
Yes.
A person has to pick up the pieces again and ensure that the very person that will be most affected by this. I mean, we are adults. We have gone through life. We are more resilient, right? But for children, I think we discussed this about resilience. Children need time to be resilient.
I'm Parkson, a father and grandfather, a relationship coach, and author of The Modern Day Dad.
And I'm Hafiz, a father of 4, a transformational coach, and a dad in progress.
We Are Dads Too is a podcast for fathers by fathers. Each week, we have conversations about different aspects of fathering. We will also be talking with experts to get their opinions or have other dads to join us too.
Because we are dads too, we understand the challenges dads face. Our children grow up way too fast, so we need to take effective action that involves personal and lasting change for our children and also for ourselves. Let's go on a transformational journey together because we are dads too.
Today we have a more serious topic, and that is about fathering after divorce. And we have a guest here, and his name is Ronnie. He has been divorced for 3 years, and he has a 6-year-old daughter who is living with his ex-wife. So welcome, Ronnie, and thank you for coming and sharing your story with us and your experience of fathering after a divorce. So how do you feel today?
Good. I had a productive day at work today.
That's nice.
Yeah, so thank you for welcoming me, inviting me over to have a chat here. It's my first time doing a podcast, so pardon me if there's...
Okay, although Parkson say it's a serious topic,
Yes.
we have to make it not only just matter of seriousness, the topic is seriousness, but I think frank and fun. Fun in a way that we can, as we talk about this quite serious issue, we'll be able to widen our perspective of things. I think there's many stereotyping, negativity around this topic. And I think why we want to talk about it is not only because the rate of divorce is rising, especially among certain communities. Also, there is a lack of discussion, especially among men, among dads or dads who have divorced. And because of society itself, it may be something taboo, something that is embarrassing. It seems to be something which is out of the norm, but it is a norm today. I mean, I think I look around sometimes, there are so many people who are divorced, and let's talk about it so that not only we are more aware, but we look at this as something that we can tackle head on with the right information, the right mindset for the best of to improve our lives, parents as fathers, and also for our children.
That's right. That's right. The more we don't talk about it, the more things will never change. And the way things are happening right now, it's not exactly ideal. It's not healthy to many parties. And that's why we need to talk about it, and hopefully recognize that, where the areas that we can do better for the sake of everyone else, everyone involved, like children. Children are the first victims of divorce. All right, they're innocent. They didn't choose their parents. They have no choice. They were born into the family, and what their parents do, they have also no say over it. And when their parents' marriages ends in divorce, parents just decide what they want to do, and the child just have to accept it and try to go along with it and adjust to it. But the other victim of divorce are actually fathers in most cases. All right. And divorce itself is a very traumatic event. And so I want to ask you, Ronnie, maybe if you can share with us what it was like soon after the divorce or immediately after the divorce in terms of your emotional, mental state. What was your experience like?
First of all, I think I have to address that the divorce itself, the separation itself, is not as traumatic as the events or the circumstances that led to the separation. So basically, I'm speaking about conflict. The actual issue it was that led to the separation, the events that was the actual trauma.
Oh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
So you and your now ex-wife had a lot of arguments, disputes, and things
Yes.
like that. Disagreements about what parenting styles or personality issues.
All of the
All of the above,
above,
huh?
all of
Okay.
what you have mentioned. Yeah. So
Okay.
possibly when I look back, parenting style definitely is one of the issue, but it was something that we overlooked. We just brush it aside, and definitely also our personality, our relationship with our daughter. We have different opinions about raising our child, and also I would say lack of communication. Yeah. So lack of communication led to we overlook many things. We don't agree on many things, but we choose to remain silent about it instead of discussing and coming out with possible positive outcomes for our child. So instead of discussing probably like a normal couple, we didn't. Yeah.
I mean, I remember when Parkson said nobody gets married to get divorced. All right. So maybe I want to ask you this question before we start really talk on after divorce, right? What would be one big thing you think you would have done to avoid this divorce, or you could have done to avoid this divorce, which I think would be useful for many of us out there, to listen to someone who's gone through, and maybe we can avoid and take precautions.
Okay. Ultimately, a marriage is a teamwork. So when things turn sour, like I mentioned, the communication. I was trying to highlight that communication is very important. But how your question is about how can we avoid?
One big thing, like you said, something that you think that was the thing that broke the camel's back, and what you could have done about it.
Like I mentioned, the trauma was actually the events that led to the separation. So when we have a conflict, I mean, going back to the issue of conflict, you should actually sit down and talk about it instead of walking away, instead of walking out on each other, or either one walking out on the other.
So it's like avoiding a conflict, right?
Avoiding it.
Avoiding a conflict. So it's better maybe not to talk about it than to talk about it and then end up in a fight.
Yeah. Not talking about it personally is even worse to me. Yeah, because you are not addressing the problem. You're walking away, leading up to this. You walk like someone walks away. It's considered a separation. You choose not to be together anymore. You choose not to come together and solve that problem. So avoiding the conflict, avoiding discussing about the conflict to address the issue is definitely a no-no.
Was it a mutual thing, or was it one party was really avoiding?
One party was doing it,
and the other party was trying very hard?
The other party was trying to come to terms with the that's an issue, that's a problem, while the other was trying to avoid it. Yeah. And it seems that one party walking away made the other party became more aware that it was actually a toxic marriage. And so what led to the divorce was a lot of thoughts was put into it, that possibly is best way that we have to separate. Unfortunately, who would want the child to witness more arguments and more the lack of communication. I mean, we have been separated, but when we meet face to face, we can't see eye to eye anymore. Literally eye to eye. So it's not good for the child to witness that. And slowly, what I realized that the child is able to understand, possibly because living separately, having the time with her mother and her father on different occasions, it made the child aware that it's the best way forward somehow, because there's no more bickering or there's no more arguments. Yeah. And of course, as parents, we will shower her with attention and love more, because perhaps for me, guilty, of course, because I choose to get the divorce. I choose to be going through the divorce, because otherwise it will have caused more damage to my mental health and my physical health, in fact. Yeah.
So at what point were you convinced that this marriage could not be saved and divorce was the best option?
I think this is the same, going back to we can't communicate anymore. We cannot see eye to eye. We cannot sit down and discuss about anything, and not even for the good of our child.
Did you try to seek help, like, a counselor, marriage counselor, or even a friend, just to help you kind of mediate, arbitrate, or,
We both went through marriage counseling, the mandatory marriage counseling, but we did it separately. Yeah, we both agreed that we have to do it separately. So the counseling itself is just going through the motion, going through the process of divorce.
Oh, okay. So the counseling was at the point where you filed for divorce, right? So it's mandatory. Okay. So, but you didn't seek any counseling before that to try to salvage the marriage?
None.
Okay.
None at all.
Even informally, were there like family members or even friends, or did you consulted or talk to, and therefore,
our parents? But it seems that it got worse when we have parents.
All right.
When we have families involved.
You mean side A supporting side team A versus supporting
Team A versus
and
Team B.
versus team B. Okay.
Yes.
Then, you can imagine.
Yeah. So from a small war, it became a big war. Yeah, because both sides have their own thoughts about it. Both sides are very defensive, and they have their own take on it. They have their own. They want to have a say in it. And from my experience, I mean, I can say that. And then eventually, because of parents involved, one side of the family decide divorce is also the way forward. Because there's no, when you talk about conflicts and it involves shame, avoiding it is the best way possible. I mean, from what I can say for the other party, talk about cheating. Yeah, because that party don't want to acknowledge that there's a problem, that she's the cause. Yeah.
So there's an element of infidelity here?
There is, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, it's hard for me to mention about it. Yeah, I try my best to avoid mentioning infidelity or adultery. Yeah, I'll rather focus on the topic of divorce in general. But I don't know. Infidelity is definitely one of the causes of divorce.
In fact, we had a question, right, Parkson, on that.
How to recover from adultery or extramarital affairs
during marriage?
Yes. Well, adultery or infidelity or extramarital affairs does not destroy a marriage. It's just a sign that the marriage is having problems, and the marriage is having trouble, and therefore one party is there's some needs that are not being met, and therefore, that makes that person or one of the parties or even both more susceptible to being drawn away and attracted by something else because the needs can be met somewhere else. Yeah. So it's a very sensitive issue. I know it's a very painful issue also. So let's talk about your fathering.
Yeah.
So you have one child, and so how much time are you able to spend with your child after the divorce?
The current arrangement right now is alternate weekends from Saturday to Sunday. Yeah, so it's to me it's very limited. But as a father, I make the best out of it. I try my best to really plan activities for her and have my attention totally given to her or focus on her. I'm quite surprised at her ability to adapt between homes. I can say that I'm fortunate in that sense. I'm not sure how other children that are involved with divorced parents are able to adapt or otherwise. Yeah, but for me, she is adaptable. And when I give her, I shower her with love by saying it and by action. I will have to keep on emphasizing that despite that the divorce is happening or the divorce has happened, that the both of us as parents, we love her.
Mm-hmm.
So and that is not her fault. So I think something positive out of this is just that the marriage has broken down, but not our relationship with our children. So as parents, I think we have to be accountable and take responsibility that is caused by the two of them. So they have to so-called remedy the situation for the kid or for the child. Yeah.
So Ronnie, I thought that is a very I applaud you for that because I heard that it's not easy. There are many cases of after divorce, the child becomes the tug of war, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the person that's being pushed, shoved, and it's like all the bad vibes from either side is go through that child being like the medium, right? So more importantly, how do you have that, to me, positive attitude to make sure that you separate your issues or conflict with your wife or ex-wife and your child, who is, as you said, not involved? How do you convince yourself and make it something that you really believe and you do it consciously?
Attend classes or lessons about parenting. Yeah. I went through that. I went through counseling and also classes and lessons on parenting. So you will learn a lot to better yourself first before you can actually be a better parent to your child. Possibly when you talk about a divorce, at the start of the session when you mentioned it's traumatic, it affects you mentally or emotionally. That's the biggest issue. We need to address our issues first. We need to heal or recover first before we can focus our attention on the child. So my advice is, or in fact what I can say is that as a parent, as a divorced parent, to impart positivity to your child, you have to first heal and ensure that you are okay first. Yeah. Otherwise, when you talk about you're mentally or emotionally affected, there's no way you can have a good bonding or a good relationship with your child.
Yeah, I can imagine, if you are filled with anger, bitterness towards your ex-spouse, that will kind of spill out in your words, actions, behavior, body language. And children, even young children, I think they're very sensitive to these kind of vibes, they'll pick it up and things like that. Yeah. So how long did you take, would you say you took to heal?
At least a year.
At least a year, huh?
Yeah.
So you went through counseling.
I went through
You
counseling.
went through
courses,
you attended
short courses,
short
on
courses.
parenting.
Okay.
Yeah, and also do read up on a lot of articles as to understand what your child goes through. Yeah.
I think this stage where you realize that you need to be self-aware first. That self-awareness, I thought, is really, really important. Looking inside you, what were the things that you can have control over, and it's not other people but ourselves, right? That's the first person or the very person have to start. So, do you remember, or can you maybe share what were the triggering moment, or the really say that no, I have to change? At that point before you go to classes, before you go to counseling, because most people also do not do that. Maybe there were reasons, and for your own experience, what was it that really triggered you to make that change of that self-awareness?
I mentioned about the trauma at the start. So I realized that I became aware of myself. Like, I will question how long do I have to feel affected by this. At the same time, I'm trying to deal that my child is no longer with me as usual. So I knew then I need to change. Meaning that I have to, I mentioned, to be better. You have to get better.
Was your child the main factor that you want to?
She's the motivation. Yeah, she's the motivation that I need to do something about this and address this issue with myself. First, how do I recover from this? So, I think that self-awareness, becoming aware that there's something wrong. Yeah, and that I need to get better, heal, and then also then with that healing and recovery, whether it's 100% or not, that only then I can come forward to have my child again.
So, am I right to say you wanted to have a better version of yourself, so that when you're with your child is receiving the best version of her father, rather than a broken, angry, bitter, resentful person, and it's no fun being with him, that kind of thing.
Exactly. You got it right. Yeah.
So a broken marriage need not stay broken.
Yes.
A person has to pick up the pieces again and ensure that the very person that will be most affected by this. We are adults. We have gone through life. We are more resilient, right? But for children, I think we discussed this about resilience. Children need time to be resilient, and for very young children, it will formulate not only their behavior in the future, but their belief system, their mindset. If you have a broken parent, not a broken marriage, but a broken parent or broken parenting, right? What more after a broken marriage?
Well, that was a very interesting, and I would say probably not easy journey for you. Yeah, but I'm glad you took it. I'm glad you saw, the signs, and you acknowledged it rather than, push it aside, which like most men would do. I'm not at fault here. If so and so didn't do that, I wouldn't be this. It wouldn't be affecting me like this today. So I think it's partly human nature. We want to assign blame, and we'll blame anyone and anything, even the weather. If we can, we'll blame the government or God. But we, the last thing we would do is to accept responsibility also. But you did that, and so we're happy for you, and I
Thank you.
think we're also happy for your daughter that she's now having, the best version of her dad that she can receive. And I believe you're still in a road to, growth and development also, because we don't stop growing. We don't stop.
Yes.
Yeah.
We don't stop learning and growing.
This podcast is brought to you by Iman Catalyst Community, which is missioned to elevate hope by transforming lives through social education initiatives as well as personal development programs. We are the medium that come in between NGOs and their beneficiaries to enhance their sustainability and impact. If you'd like to know more, connect, and collaborate with us, you can reach us at Facebook and Instagram at Iman Catalyst. That's spelled EMAAN. And we would like to work and partner with you.
Thank you so much for tuning to this week's conversation. We hope that this episode helped you in your transformational journey as dads. If you like this podcast, make sure you review, follow, and share it with your friends. For more episodes and resources on fathering, check us out at We Are Dads Too on Facebook and Instagram.
We would also like to hear your comments and questions, so please feel free to share them on our FB and IG pages and also our Twitter, and be connected to other dads too. Until next time, let's take the next step to be the special dad we are meant to be. Take care and stay safe.